Sitting in a corner of the room, I felt like the world had ended the moment I heard the news of my grandmother's death. She was the replacement of my late mother, who died the last 2 years. When I knew I was the reason she got a heart attack at that particular time, the feelings were all sorrow and solace. If I knew I was going to embark on a journey that will leave a deep scar in my memory permanently, I would not go into the house in the first place. My tear-stained face and puffy red eyes explain everything that happened the last 9 months. My lovely grandmother used to advise me by saying that not all glitters are gold. I ignored them because I thought she was saying that just for the sake of old times. My father also shut his mouth up every time my grandmother said that, as if they were making sense and connections, referring to something I did not know. Back then, I was young, wild, and free. I had the most perfect body figure that everyone was green-eyed. To make the story perfect, I met my spouse Daniel when I was 20 years old and we got married. He was handsome, rich, and no one could refuse his alluring smile. His dark brown eyes melted every single lady who saw him. Things were good for the family until one day, my grandmother stormed into my room with her old eyes heavy with tears, but she said nothing. She sat on my unkempt bed and patted my head with her hard hand tenderly. I was confused with her actions, and I asked her if something bad had happened. She looked into my eyes and hugged me with her big, warm hug. I could not bear looking at her like that, so tears rolled down my cheeks, glistening with trails of innocent water. She asked me to stay calm and listen to her words carefully, because she knew that it was going to be hard for me to accept it. That really made me stunted. At that time, I was nearly 5 months pregnant, so I was afraid that the news was going to be about my missing husband, Daniel. But I encouraged my grandmother to tell the story. She said that Daniel phoned her yesterday when I was already asleep. Hearing his name pleased me, but it had been 3 months since he went missing. The words after that choked me with tears. She said that Daniel was already married to another woman, but was afraid to tell me that. I was speechless. Words stuck in my mind, and sadness crept inside my heart. I was searching for my flaws, and I looked at my stomach with tears. This baby, how will he grow up without his father being around him? To be honest, we did have a fight the last night before Daniel ran away because of my jealousy. He was obnoxious, and also he was too workaholic until he spent less time with me. I saw him at a restaurant holding hands with one of his female colleagues. And do tell me, what hurts the heart of a wife more than seeing her husband with another woman on the night of their anniversary? I was about to tell him the news that he was going to be a father that year, but things turned out to be a chaos that night. He said that it was all my fault because I could not understand his job and he could not make the relationship work anymore. I gave him a weary smile, too hopeless and exhausted to speak. I looked into his eyes and said nothing since the pain throbbed my heart deeply. He turned away and packed his things before I fainted. When I woke up, the only person who was there to hold my hands and gave me some strength was my grandmother. She said that everything was going to be okay, but I knew it was not. I hoped that she would use her charms in her words to console me, but she did not. And now, after 3 months, this was more than just a catastrophe or a nightmare for me. I did not think that I was capable of raising this little baby on my own without Daniel, but God's planning was better. Grandmother hugged me and said the words again, "Not all glitters are gold." That moment, I realized everything. She knew that Daniel was not a good guy to be married to, but I love him too much. She was trying to say that not everybody with stunning looks is good and vice versa. I hugged her hopelessly, hoping that her strength would be with me to continue my life. There she was, always by my side during ups and downs for about 9 months of pregnancy. When I felt nausea, she helped me with the old folks tips. One day, I fell at the kitchen when I was helping her to prepare lunch. I saw blood on my gown. I was saturated with blood. My vision was blurred, and the last thing I saw was my grandmother running to find her phone. The labor room was open for me. I gasped in despair, hoping for my grandmother to be there to guide me and be with me, but she was not there. I pushed as much as I could, holding on to the reason to keep alive, my grandmother. After 3 hours of battling with pain, I fainted when I heard the baby's cry. My grandmother had passed away because she got a heart attack when she was too panicked calling for my father when I fell at the kitchen. But I believe everything happened for a reason. She was the one who encouraged me to not give up after my marriage failed, but she was gone. It did aggravate my condition, but I remembered all of the life lessons she gave me. Seeing the nurse entering my room with a baby who looked vulnerable, I cried. I named the baby Umar. He cried and his plump hands asked to be picked up. I smiled with bittersweet pain. Thank you, grandmother. In this corner of the room, I was thankful for everything.